Night falls, and the forgotten gather. Drawn to the light, but afraid of its power, they hesitate on the blade's edge of shadow, staring with unseeing eyes and hearing only the voices in their heads. Hello, freaks and freethinkers. I'm your host, Deep Amber, and this is Radio Ghost Town. Tonight, our investigation into the grand conspiracy continues with a focus on exposing the agents of the Antichrist. Last time, we took an introductory look at the concept of mind control, the ubiquitous, boring, deadly, dangerous variety, the sort we run across every day. And sadly, most people, when confronted with the facts, will acknowledge its existence, its sway, and its danger, and then, moments later, fall willing prey to its control once again. It's the dreadful case of the malignant butt, a frequently terminal condition. And just like other malignant growths, it should be cut out of us for our own good. The malignant butt, that's spelled B-U-T, freaks and freethinkers, manifests from time to time in the best of us. A habit that we know is unhealthy is quietly indulged in with the flimsiest of excuses. But I'm tired. But it's just a little. But it's not really a big deal. But I can always give it up tomorrow. And perhaps there is some truth to these assertions under certain circumstances, if it were just the once just a little not important, if we did, in fact, abandon the habit altogether with the break of dawn. But we don't. Human nature being what it is, one butt only gives way to another shovelful of dirt tossed over our shoulder as we dig our own graves. The momentum builds like a car racing downhill with its brake lines cut. Of course, if we were in a runaway vehicle, we'd jump clear, wouldn't we? Despite peril, potential discomfort, and risk of loss, we would grab desperately for that one slim chance of survival. But this isn't a car speeding into a fiery crash of twisted metal and burning rubber. It's a slow leak, draining away our mental freedom drop by drop, and most of us can't be inconvenienced long enough to fight it. Strange, isn't it? I tell you, friends, with sincere urgency that your thoughts are being controlled by outside forces. You are not immune. In fact, the simple, childish conviction that you are makes you even more vulnerable. Your soul is in mortal peril, and the danger is growing by the day. If you live in this world, function in our society, and interact with modern conveniences, then you are a victim of mind control. Your thoughts and opinions have been and are being finessed, managed. It's been going on far longer than you think. They, and by they I mean the agents of the Antichrist, have finally managed to whip up the perfect storm, a storm of technology and mentality and society converging on all fronts to overwhelm the souls of man. The more I look, the more I see. Every branch of the grand conspiracy is intertwined with every other. The agents of the Antichrist are not lone wolf operatives. There are no isolated rogues. They're a hive mind. Links in a chain, the individual strands of a spider's web being spun around the minds of humankind, ever thicker, ever stronger, nigh inescapable. So tonight, in case we never speak again, in case there's never another episode of Radio Ghost Town, tonight I will tell you something that could well save your life. A doctor named Meerloo, M-E-E-R-L-O-O, was a respected psychiatrist back in the day when men wore hats in public and most people still trusted the government. He studied, analyzed, and treated victims of torture from 3 separate wars, helping broken people return to living normal, productive lives. He writes from experience, his own personal eyewitness accounts of shattered minds, of thought control, brainwashing, and totalitarianism, of the struggles of men whose minds and bodies were brutally crushed by their wartime captors. In his book, written around 1955, and from a secular worldview, Dr. Meerloo shares an observation about the men who suffered unspeakable torture and extreme forms of mind control at enemy hands. He makes no apologies and offers no excuses. It simply is. It's a fact. He says, "The simple man with deep-rooted, freely absorbed religious faith could exert a much greater inner resistance than could the complex, questioning intellectualist. The refined intellectual is much more handicapped by the internal pros and cons. In other words, the men who best survived the horrors of the First and Second World War, the ones who emerged from Korean prison camps with their souls intact, were those with a strong and simple faith. The complex and refined university graduate was not as well equipped to deal with the mental and physical strain. Strange, isn't it? That is quite the opposite of what we have been programmed to think. The knee-slapping, Bible-thumping, simple man, he usually has a strong southern drawl, is a buffoon, the clown, the one who crumbles under the intellectual weight of real problems, while the liberally educated, self-important, monkey-worshipping intellectual rises above mental oppression and nefarious attempts to crush his soul via his hyper-intellectual prowess. That's what we've been told. I can name 5 popular shows with a character who demonstrates just this sort of overeducated Ivy League god-like mental mastery in sharp contrast to the common, simple-minded, pitiable religious folk who crumble so easily under pressure. That's a common tactic in brainwashing, by the way, putting forth unreality as fact. But it turns out that when the rubber met the road, a college education did not in fact serve to strengthen the mind and the will against the enemy. It did, in fact, according to Dr. Malou's observation, make the mind more vulnerable to attack. Could it be that our vastly admired, even coveted, one might say deified, higher education has actually been cunningly formulated to break down the human ability to stand, resolute and alone, against the besetting foe? To fracture the mind, to tear down the towers of defense given us by simple, childlike faith. Was it part of the plan all along? Put that in your pocket for later. Mull it over in moments of erudite reflection, and we'll come back to it. But first, we must admit that we are all victims of brainwashing. We're all being subjected by a corrupt government and media, education, entertainment complex to varying degrees of trauma-based mind control. And having accepted reality for what it is, we must understand our defense against them. Our only hope, the anchor to our souls, sure and steadfast, is simple, strongly held faith in God. Mere Christianity, as our dear brother C.S. Lewis would have called it. It is our strong tower. We must preserve it, strengthen it, hold fast to it. We need it like we need air in our lungs. We need it in order to survive, to remain free thinkers, to not be broken by the relentless Hulk smash pounding of enemy fists against our psyches. The cure for unreality is absolute truth, and that is found in the Word of God. Regular doses are required to reverse the damage done by exposure to the constant parade of lies, manipulation, and propaganda of our world. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word. Faith is our anchor, sure and steadfast. The modern progressive spin on Christianity has been custom built like a designer virus to break down our supernatural defenses. Hath God said? The serpent's favorite pickup line. The megachurch teaching self-help and mindfulness, corrupting the gospel with their newly enshrined traditions of social justice and gender theory, the faithless church. It fractures the mind as well. The confused, questioning church attender is, like the complex, questioning intellectual of Dr. Malou's writings, vulnerable, preconditioned to break, to succumb, to yield to pressure. Faith is not weakness. It is not a crutch. It is our secret strength, our armor. It makes us unbreakable. The only problem is everything in this fallen world is fighting to take it away from us. Failing that, to break it down, to dilute it. Christianity and water. They, the serpent and his meat puppets, fear us. They have labored these many years to eliminate the church, to make impotent the saints, and to divorce our culture from the concept of faith as foundational, because it is foundational. It is the solid rock on which we stand. You need more word in your life. Yes, you do. You need more of God. Because if you're living in the 21st century, you're getting a darn sight more of Satan, whether you realize it or not. When you're being presented with a reality, which may well be an unreality in disguise, take it back to the truth, the source of truth, the Word of God. This is why creation science is vital, by the way. The unreality of the monkey cult must be rejected, or we allow it to scrape away at our faith. It's an armed assault against our defenses, and it is linked to every other unreality, every other lie, every other agent of the Antichrist. When in doubt, the Word of God has the final word. Even if we can't see the whole picture, if we can't wrap our minds around it or make sense of the jumbled and meager facts at our disposal, we must trust God. Not government, not a man or institution, God, as revealed to us by His Word in the person of His Son, Jesus Christ, the Word made flesh who dwelt among us. We must develop the mind of Christ. It is a matter of life and death. To quote John Ramirez, "Your mind is a bad neighborhood. Don't walk through it by yourself. Bring the Holy Ghost with you." If we are to remain free, we need more of the Word and less of the input of our aspiring programmers. The Word must hold more sway than the opinions of experts and the news of influencers and science falsely so called. Hear me, freaks and freethinkers. This is the simple truth that can save your life. You need more of God and less of what draws you away from Him. There's much more to say, much more to investigate and to uncover, and God willing, we'll be together again soon. Until then, for the record, Satan is alive and active in the world today. He is your mortal enemy with just one goal, to destroy you body and soul. But the good news is we have a champion. His name is Jesus. Jesus is the only way to God, and the Bible is our only source for absolute truth. Together, they're our only hope for salvation. I'm Dee Bamber, and this is Radio Ghost Town.
We're living in precarious times. Now more than ever, we need to possess the mind of Christ and operate in the wisdom that comes from God.
At Fly By Light Media, we choose freedom over comfort and truth over popularity. We hope you will too.
And don't forget to check out our merchandise through the link in the description.
And watch more videos.
Together, we are Fly By Light Media, and we rise to shine.